Here's some good news. Today, the Boeing astronauts who were stranded at the International Space Station for 9 months finally returned to Earth. Welcome! Stuck in space for 9 months. Today, the astronauts were like, I just want to get home, watch Joker 2, make a 3-egg omelet, and dip my toes in the Gulf of Mexico. I can't wait.
That's it. That was their big joke. The Gulf of Mexico is their big joke. They're going to fire on Fort Sumter anytime now. Fort Sumter is in grave danger. Someone start fortifying Fort Sumter. The Democrat Party is coming back for their slaves. Well, very good Wednesday to you once again. Welcome back. We remain at 888-630-9625. These various jimmies. I think I know what they're jimmying. Don't you know what they're all jimmy about? Yeah, that was their big joke. They despise Elon Musk. Elon Musk was talking about it yesterday. All the violence and the death threats against Elon Musk because the left is, the Democrat Party is a violent criminal enterprise, should probably be rounded up by the millions under the RICO statutes. We're going to follow Franklin Delano Roosevelt's policy and set up concentration camps all over the country. They applaud FDR for doing that, don't they? Because they had internment camps. They had concentration camps for Japanese Americans, a great many of them actual American citizens at the time. But the Democrats have always been racist, and they're nothing if not racist. We've got that going. We've got judges. Boy, the judiciary is picking a fight like never before. And it's all anti-Trump zealotry and the fanaticism of the Democrat Party. These people, can I just say, and these political activist fake judges, they've got another one. The Democrats have a judge in Washington, D.C., a federal judge. They're very excited that Ana Cecilia Reyes, who was born in 1974, she was born in Uruguay. My best girl and I, we went on vacation. We went to Uruguay. Perfectly nice, lovely. Nice people. Uruguayan-born American lawyer. Very exciting. Very exciting. The first openly gay D.C. federal judge rakes Trump administration over a military transgender ban. And the Democrats, they want to have a transgender military like Thoroughly Modern Millie did because they want to put on a musical. They want to put on a show. Not Hamilton either, although that is racist, so they can probably pull that one off. But Michael Piercy and I were talking about this morning. Wait, the first openly gay D.C. federal judge, not to be confused with the first openly gay New York federal judge or the first openly gay Maryland federal judge or first openly gay Montana federal judge, because there are openly gay federal judges all over the place. But the Democrats have to check every box. And a century from now, they're going to be saying, well, he who is a she is the third openly gay Arizona Eastern District federal judge to rule in favor of a transgender military. And this is the game that they play because of their many mental illnesses. The Democrat Party is a mental illness. As in Minnesota, I talked about it yesterday, in Minnesota, 5 Republicans in the State House are writing, drafting, and preparing to hopefully vote on legislation in the state of Minnesota that would declare Trump derangement syndrome to be an identifiable mental illness, a mental illness, Trump derangement syndrome, and that's pretty good stuff. But the judges, the lawfare that the Democrat Party is waging against civilization, against the United States of America, they have their first openly gay D.C. federal judge rakes Trump administration over military transgender ban. So the president of the United States is elected by 77 million people, runs on, promises that he then, in this case, very unusual, makes good on. And one of the things was, you guys, enough of your transgender military putting on a show, kick, turn, high kick, one singular sensation. What's that play again? And all that stuff. We've got the Democrat Party using the court system to go after everything. Hey, the federal judge who it turns out his daughter is a political activist with illegal aliens and so on. The judge, who's an Obama appointee, of course, that ordered President Trump to turn around the airplanes with illegal alien gang members from Venezuela and El Salvador. The Democrat judge, Obama appointee, ordered the White House to turn around planes deporting illegal alien gang members. And these Democrats are like, screw that. Bring the illegal alien gang members back to the United States and let them loose on the streets of every city in America and let them into your daughter's dressing room. They're really insane. These people have a lot of mental issues. So also, judge rules Doge, and Doge's USAID dismantling likely violates what? The Constitution. Because it turns out the executive branch and the president, they have no authority at all to do anything because these crooked, fatuous, Yale and Harvard-educated, transgender, first-time gay judges, they've got total authority to just fake everything for long enough to cause anarchy and chaos because they're not judges, they're Democrats. And the Chief Justice of the United States, John Roberts, jumped in yesterday, too, opposing President Trump. President Trump called for the impeachment of this Obama judge who is a political rascal. He's a Democrat, and he wants everyone to know it with every breath that he takes. But we've got a bunch of stories having to do with President Trump and the judiciary, the Democrat judiciary, because they politicized everything from children and gender to the weather to absolutely everything has been politicized by these mental cases with Trump derangement syndrome. And that does not exclude judges appointed by Democrats who were told, I think, when they're appointed, every breath you take, every decision you make will benefit the Democrat Party and whatever insane political agenda is at that moment when the matter appears before you. Amazing stuff. And another judge fired CISA probationary employees to be reinstated after U.S. judge's order, right? Because they've got the Democrats, they find a judge who they know is a political fraud, a political hack, and they drag whatever issue they don't agree with to their crooked, filthy judge. And their crooked, filthy judge always an Obama or Biden appointee or a Clinton appointee, a Democrat appointee. And every single time the crooked judges that the Democrats, it's called venue shopping. They shop around these issues and find a friendly judge that they know is filthy corrupt and will rule in favor of the Democrat Party because it's what they do. Judges order immediate rehiring of fired probationary employees. So it turns out the president has no power at all under the Constitution, and these judges are tampering with everything. The Chief Justice Roberts moment is an interesting one, and there's a lot of it's being hotly debated, and understandably and rightly being hotly debated. And I might not even have a problem with what Justice Roberts said yesterday, Chief Justice Roberts, but I might and have a problem with what he said. I certainly don't have a problem with what President Trump is doing in calling for the impeachment of this crooked Democrat judge who is waging political lawfare against the Republican Party and the elected president of the United States, because these guys, I think he's going to rule that the Democrats have to fire on Fort Sumter now because these lunatics, how many suicide attacks have the Democrats launched? Nobody's keeping track. Maybe me. It might be me. I might be keeping track. I think 7 self-immolations that I counted, and I think at least 7 murderous suicide attacks by Democrats, too, on police and Republicans and members of Congress and Donald Trump. Suicide attacks all over the place because the Democrat Party is really mentally ill. Amazing stuff. But Roberts rejects Trump's call for impeachment judge, for impeaching judge, who ruled against his deportation plans. So the president can't deport foreign gang members. And I love it's, a 1798 law. And they're like, well, that's an old law. You can't use an old law. And as Tom Homan, I played the audio for you yesterday, our border czar said yesterday, the Constitution is old, too. We pay attention to that. The Democrats don't, of course. They're here to burn that. They're really mental. So federal judge blocks Trump administration from banning transgender people. Federal judge rejects Trump's call for impeachment. That's the Chief Justice. Federal judge indefinitely blocks Trump's ban on transgender people in the United States military. It's really just about paying for the medical treatments and the surgeries, and then you won't be deployable to a combat zone because your schnabby is in a mayonnaise jar on your front porch, and without a schnabby, you can't go into combat. Judge rules Doge's USAID dismantling likely violates the Constitution, keyword likely, and it'll be overturned because it's not true. And it's really something to see. I think there have been 127 rulings by Democrat judges. I think every filthy one of them a Democrat judge. I think, and the last time I looked yesterday, the number was 127 rulings in court since January 29th, when the Democrats started taking everything to court because it's all lawfare. And they try to imprison their political enemies because they're like the Soviet Union, they're like communists. And speaking of which, in the meantime, President Trump spent 90 minutes to 2 hours, an hour and a half to 2 hours on the phone with Vlad the Impaler, the communist killer Putin, because that's what communists do. They kill, they steal, they destroy. They're communists. That's all they've done for more than 100 years now. And the Democrats are mighty close to being them. I'm holding my right index finger a half an inch over my right thumb. They're that close to being the Soviet Union, today's Democrat Party. But President Trump on the horn with Vlad the Impaler, talking about a ceasefire when it comes to Ukraine. And, Putin's a communist, so you can't trust him or believe him, just like Chuck Schumer. Oh, yeah, Chuck Schumer was out there yesterday, too. He's got TDS big time. It's definitely a mental illness with him. But President Trump on the phone trying to bring peace to Ukraine. The Democrats want war, eternal war. They are the party of the American Civil War and World War I and World War II and the Korean War and the Vietnam War. And they are the ones that built a wall between our foreign intelligence and domestic intelligence that paved the way for the September 11th attacks to occur in the United States. I think they're not on our side. President Trump yesterday also releasing mountains of documents having to do with the John F. Kennedy assassination in 1963. And it's only 80,000 documents or something, so I know that everyone's read through all of them, leafed through all of them. But President Trump promised he would do that, and now that has been done, and the Democrats are against it. That must mean that they're behind it, because I got to tell you, the Democrat Party, they've proven to be, just in the last week or so, anti-Constitution. The president has no authority, but they are pro-Tren de Aragua, they're pro-MS-13, they're pro-Sinaloa cartel in Mexico, they are pro-Hamas, they're pro-Hezbollah. They're not on our side. These people are not friends of America. That's for sure. What kind of, whose side are they on? Amazing stuff. And in fact, CNN had a little panel, naturally, on the release of the John F. Kennedy documents. And John F. Kennedy's grandson, who's unfortunately named Jack Schlossberg, he posted a video of his being insane and mentally disturbed, attacking CNN, which he loves. And then he's like, hey, nobody told us they were going to release the JFK documents. That's because you get your news from CNN, stupid. I knew all about it. I knew about it when he was running for president. I knew about it when he was elected. I knew about it when he was inaugurated. I knew about it 3 weeks ago and 3 days ago. But Jack Schlossberg was taken by surprise. Hey, wait a minute. Every day's an IQ test, and these guys are not doing well. Oh, yeah, also judge bars Trump's EPA from taking back $20 billion that the Democrats in climate grants that the Democrats set up as a slush fund for their friends to buy houses, lakeside houses. Also, Dan Bongino. Listen to this. The great Dan Bongino was sworn in to serve as the Federal Bureau of Investigation's 20th deputy director. And that is a big deal. The news media is very angry. The New York Times has, with the arrival of Bongino, Trump loyalists take command of the FBI. He's the president of the United States, you stupid, corrupt, filthy New York Times clowns. Now, anybody remember Barack Obama's attorney general bragging that he's Barack Obama's wingman? Because I do. I know these guys must do LSD every day. They must smoke so much pot that they don't remember what they had for breakfast 10 minutes after they finish. The New York Times, our news media, our judiciary branch, we got a lot of problems in America that need to be addressed. And how dad, I got to tell you, I've got recommendations for President Trump when it comes to these judges and these rulings. I've got that coming up. We're at 888-630-9625. Chris here with a list of things that none of us should trust. The Washington Post, the New York Times, anything on CNN. Here's a list of things that I do trust. The Washington Times. Support real journalism for just $1 a week at washingtontimes.com/Chris. Yes, and we have returned. Wah, wah, wah. Yeah, well, actually, let's go to the phones because I think my recommendation for President Trump may come up in the course of this phone call. Let's go to Robert calling from the great state of Ohio. Robert, you're on the Chris Plante Show.
Good morning, Chris. Thank you for taking my call. What's clearly evident to me, and anyone that studied history, is what you're witnessing is the Weimar Republic being shoved down our throat here and the destruction of our criminal justice system, exactly as the Nazis did in 1932, 33, and so on. And if you don't recognize it, you've never studied any history, and you're dumber than dirt. And it's time that America wakes up and does something about this criminality going on in Washington. I know that Trump and Elon Musk are doing a great job of ferreting out the corruption, but I'm afraid that if we don't do something dramatic and drastic, we may lose our Constitution. What think you?
Well, I've got to say that I'm really glad that President Trump is in the White House and that he's picking fights, because these are fights that ought to be fought. These are fights that ought to be picked. And for decades, we've had Republicans just kind of humming their way past and ignoring all of the mayhem in this city. But I agree with you that Washington is a very corrupt city. Our judiciary has been corrupted by the left. Forget the labeled Democrat Party. This is the left, and the left is here. I like to point out that the Nazi Party was the Socialist Workers' Party of Germany, because it was. And you're referencing the Weimar Republic. I've got to say, I'm very glad that President Trump is picking these fights. These are fights that deserve to be fought, that need to be fought, and I have the recommendation coming up. The Democrat Party, they're very, very unwell. You did see it's fun making the rounds on Al Gore's amazing internet, because Elon Musk brought those astronauts back yesterday, and that was pretty cool, I've got to say. We had a splashdown of a space capsule in the Gulf of America, which is like the ocean, and it was really something. I got to say, I watched it with great pleasure. I've always wanted to go into space on a spaceship and launch off of a pad in Florida and travel at 17,800 miles an hour and re-enter the atmosphere and not burn up. And the parachutes, they had the drogue chutes first, and then the 4 big parachutes that deployed, and the space capsule coming to Earth and splashing down. And the word splashdown, I love the word splashdown. We haven't had splashdown in I don't know how long. Always the space shuttle landing. I was actually at the first landing of the first space shuttle at Edwards Air Force Base in California. I had a front row seat for that. I was out on the dry lake bed. It was great. Always loved the space thing when I was a little kid, Apollo and all that. Meeting John Glenn was a great a great joy when I started in the news business long ago because he's an astronaut. And I had this woman introduce me, and it's like, what, you never meet a senator before? I'm like, senator? That's the least of his accomplishments. That's John Glenn. He was the astronaut, John Glenn. When I was 4 years old, I had a silver spacesuit with John Glenn's name on it. But yesterday, the splashdown was really cool. It really was. And naturally, the Democrats, they politicize the hell out of everything. So they and it's Elon Musk, and they hate Elon Musk because they hate everybody. They're a hate cult, and they're violent, and they're firebombing and attacking and shooting Elon Musk, Tesla dealerships and Tesla vehicles. And I've been talking a lot about this. They're going around attacking people that own Teslas and drive Teslas and scratching and scrawling and painting swastikas everywhere because everybody's a Nazi with these fascists, They're really mental. But we do have let's get to this because this was a lot of fun. And I did love the splashdown and the two astronauts being rescued. They went up into space for 8 days, and because of Joe Biden, they ended up spending 9 months in space because Joe Biden was awful and he's just terrible. Where is he anyway? Where is Joe Biden? Is he in a coma? Is he in an iron lung? Has he been taken to a memory care facility or something? Has he been taken away in a jacket of some kind that doesn't let him move his arms? Joe Biden is nowhere to be found. But Elon Musk is. And he was, he has a space program. And he's working with NASA. And this incredible landing yesterday, splashdown. And I love the word splashdown because that goes back to the old days of the American space program when it was really, not that the space shuttle hasn't been cool, but Apollo was the coolest, landing on the moon and all that good stuff, and Mercury and Gemini, all that good stuff. Those were wonderful. Apollo, the coolest still. But yesterday was like a flashback to the cool old day with a space capsule with 4 people aboard, 3 men and 1 woman, and splashing down off the panhandle of Florida, more or less near Pensacola, and then the boats and ships coming over and plucking the capsule out of the water, and just I think we have the moment when we had splashdown, and I was with my best girl, and I think I nudged her, elbowed her, and I said, splashdown. They got Elon Musk has brought back the word splashdown to the space program, and it looked like it was shaped like an old-fashioned Apollo space capsule, generally speaking, and the splashdown was cool, and the parachutes were incredibly cool, and hitting the water, which was glassy, and then a pod of dolphins came up. First, there was 1 dolphin, then a whole pod of dolphins, swimming as they do. They don't dance or anything. The Democrats would make them dance, and they decide they're transgender. But dolphins, they weren't the tasty kind of dolphins. They were the other, like the flipper dolphin. I speak a little bit of dolphin, thanks to Like Flint. And the dolphin pod came up, and I would have talked to him. And they talk back. I've done this. Gone swimming with dolphins and stuff. But the splashdown yesterday was a really cool moment.
And splashdown, Crew 9 back on Earth.
And they went wild. People at NASA and ground control to Major Tom and
Freedom Splashdown.
Freedom Splashdown.
Happy Splashdown. We see main chutes cut. Nick, Alex, Butch, Sonny, on behalf of SpaceX, welcome home.
Sonny, Butch. We got Butch and Sonny, which is pretty cool, too. And People magazine has a headline, Dolphins surround a SpaceX capsule after ocean splashdown as NASA, and it is still NASA being a part of it, but Elon Musk really driving the whole operation, as NASA astronauts return to Earth. Now, they don't want to give Elon Musk credit for it because they're all waging war against Elon Musk, and they're firebombing Tesla dealerships and Tesla automobiles, and they're threatening to murder him because they're insane, pretty amazing stuff. And you may remember that while the news media, and we got one idiot Democrat senator who is an embarrassment to everything that he represents, and I've got him coming up in a minute, but the astronaut, one of the astronauts rescued by Elon Musk, was Barry Wilmore. He goes by Butch because why not? He's Butch Wilmore, and he was aboard the International Space Station a few days ago. It was the day before yesterday. It was Monday aboard the International Space Station.
All of us have the utmost respect for Mr. Musk, and obviously respect and admiration for our President of the United States, Donald Trump. We appreciate them. We appreciate all that they do for us, for human spaceflight, for our nation. And we're thankful that they are in the positions they're in.
And we're thankful they're in the positions they're in. And the SpaceX Dragon 9 capsule sticks splashdown, landing as NASA astronauts return home. And they did stick it. It was right, it was set for whatever the time was, 5:53 p.m. Eastern time. And they whatever the minute was, they hit right on the mark, right on the money. It was really great. And Elon Musk, we're fortunate to have an American immigrant like Elon Musk. We're very unfortunate to have a Democrat media and a bunch of judges that we have. But I tell you, the Dolphins are getting more news than the astronauts, getting more headlines than the astronauts. Flipping for joy, Dolphins greet NASA astronauts back on Earth after splashdown. Love splashdown. Dolphins welcome SpaceX Crew 9 back to Earth after splashdown. It's headline after headline. Stranded astronauts return to Earth, splashdown in Gulf of America. That's a Fox News headline. CNN would say Gulf of Mexico because they're more in favor of the Sinaloa cartel than they are of the United States of America. President Trump on March 8th was asked about going up to rescue these astronauts that Joe Biden and the Democrats left stranded.
They've been left up there. I hope they like each other, but maybe they'll love each other. I don't know. But they've been left up there. Think of it.
Think of it. They've been left up there. Think of it. Wonderful stuff, I've got to say. Now, yesterday, the Fox News channel, The Five, and I think is that when it splashed down during the 5? I think that's right. So it was like 5:53, whatever the time was, Eastern time. And Greg Gutfeld, he's one of the hosts of the show, The Five. And yesterday, when splashdown happened, he started using language that angered Democrats.
Ahead, we're just moments away from splashdown for the two stranded astronauts Joe Biden left in space.
The two stranded astronauts that Joe Biden left in space. And the Democrats are screaming and yelling, "That's not true. That's not true." There is a Democrat senator who, honestly, he's a former military pilot. My apologies. This is the brother of the senator. Mark Kelly is the senator. Scott Kelly on Fox News with Brett Baer, and he was invited on to be a guest and talk about the rescue of the stranded astronauts by Elon Musk. But Democrats, they hate everybody.
Let me say something. I was watching your previous program, The Five, and they're talking about abandoned and they were stranded by President Biden. That is not true. They have had a spacecraft up there since September that was going to bring them home. They've always had a ride home, and the decision to keep them up there had nothing to do with politics.
Nothing to do with politics. It had nothing to do with politics. Why would it have anything to do with politics? Yeah, so this is Scott Kelly. His brother is the senator, these people, they're very comfortable lying about everything and being deceptive about everything. Stranded astronauts might feel worse off than previous long-duration flights, says former NASA astronaut Scott Kelly. So he's a former astronaut, and he's just not a truth teller. He's very defensive about Joe Biden and the Democrat Party. And I was watching him yesterday, and I was shaking my head and thinking, well, why is he saying these things? He's saying these ridiculous and outrageous things. Scott Kelly.
You need crew members to operate the space station, And they were the two that were there, and you had to send up a vehicle with 2 empty seats. So the safest thing to do was to just leave them there. But they weren't stranded. They always had a ride home.
Well, that is just a lie. If they always had a ride home, they would have been home long ago. He's a lion Sacagawea. And I was watching this guy and thinking, they went up for an 8-day mission, and they spent 9 months there. They were stranded. They didn't have a ride home sitting around. Hey, Uber, call the Uber spacecraft. I know Elon Musk is good, and he doesn't give Elon Musk any credit, and he doesn't give Donald Trump any credit. And hey, look, 8-day, it's like I was being compared yesterday rightly to Gilligan's Island, when they set out on the SS Minnow for a 3-hour tour, and, the weather started getting rough and the tiny ship was tossed. And if not for the courage of the fearless crew, the Minnow would be lost. But that's what happened to this space mission that was supposed to be 8 days long. 9 months later, and he's saying they weren't, and he's angry. Here he's bitter. He's going to go burn a Tesla dealership, I think.
They were only supposed to be there for 8 days. So to answer your question, yeah, it's mentally challenging to go on a mission where you think it might be 8 days. It could be longer because it's the first flight of a vehicle, and sometimes there are problems. And NASA made the right choice to keep them up there longer.
That NASA made the right choice to keep them up there for 9 months, even though it was an 8-day mission. And Elon Musk has to, with his own space program, has to go up and rescue them. And it was a thing of beauty, and splashdown and the parachutes and the pot of dolphins, which is like the finger of God in all of this, because we are the United States of America. And you may remember the astronaut Butch Wilmore, back on March 3rd. And he's up on the space station. He's taking questions from reporters. And he took a question from a Washington Post reporter named Aaron Gregg.
Our next question is from Aaron Gregg with the Washington Post.
My question relates to Elon Musk has said that he made the offer to bring you guys back earlier and that it was denied. My first question is that true? And if so, what would that have looked like? Was he offering to make another flight, push seats on another flight? Could you give us some background there?
I can only say that Mr. Musk, what he says is absolutely factual. We have no information on that, though, whatsoever. What was offered, what was not offered, who it was offered to, how that process went. That's information that we simply don't have. So I believe him. I don't know all those details, and I don't think any of us really can give you the answer that you would be hoping for.
Yeah, as a Washington Post weasel that you're trying to defend Joe Biden and the Democrats. But, yeah, what he said is absolutely true, that he offered to bring you home earlier, but it was denied because Joe Biden and the Democrats, here's the thing, the story behind this is that the Democrats didn't want Elon Musk to be the hero of the story because he had been spending time with Donald Trump. And there was an election coming up. And the Democrats screw these people. We don't want to make the enemy look good, Donald Trump look good, and his pal Elon Musk look good. We're trying to paint everybody as Nazis. We're burning their properties. We're firebombing and Molotov cocktailing everything. And then Elon Musk was interviewed yesterday, and he was in his personal space uniform with his cool space jacket, and he's in front of the White House because it couldn't be any cooler than this. And the left-wing media just hates this, Elon Musk, yesterday.
We definitely offered to return the astronauts earlier. There's no question about that. The astronauts were only supposed to be there for 8 days, and they've been there for almost 10 months. So obviously that doesn't make any sense. SpaceX could have brought the astronauts back after a few months at most, and we made that offer to the Biden administration. It was rejected for political reasons, and that's just a fact.
Rejected for political reasons, and that's just a fact. These people should go to penitentiaries.
There's always some risk that something could go wrong, but thanks to the excellent work of the SpaceX team working with NASA, the astronauts are now safely home. And so congratulations to the SpaceX and NASA teams on excellent work, and a huge note of appreciation to President Trump for prioritizing and expediting their return.
He's our Leonardo da Vinci, and the Biden administration shot it down, denied him, left them stranded. And you've got astronaut Scott Kelly, lying to everybody about it, angrily lying to everybody about it. Pretty amazing stuff. Elon Musk telling the truth about it. And the Democrats are going to have to go burn another Tesla dealership today in another fit of rage, mental illness, violence. The Democrats. Elon Musk laid it out and made it clear. Yeah, he offered to bring the American astronauts back much earlier, and the Biden administration, for political reasons, said no. They disallowed it because did a judge jump in and say that they have to allow it? Should we get a Republican judge to jump in and do the right thing? Boy, I've got a lot more on this, and I still haven't got it. In short, I think President Trump should ignore the courts, just like Joe Biden did, including the Supreme Court, and then pick that fight. And our corrupt, filthy, rotten news media can drown in their own corruption and stupidity when the truth comes out. Right now, let's go to the telephones. Let's go to Scott, calling from Stafford, Virginia. Scott, you're on the Chris Plant Show.
Well, Scott Kelly is not technically lying, but he's being disingenuous as hell. There is always a return capsule attached. It's called the escape pod. So they could have gotten home, but they would have left everybody up there high and dry.
That makes it even more dishonest, doesn't it? The escape pod.
It doesn't seem right to me. That's against every protocol they've got, I guarantee it.
You're a follower of the space program?
No, I just know that there's always one up there because I remember there was some kind of emergency. I don't know if it was a fire or what, but they were all strapped in and ready to hit the eject button, as it were.
Well, Elon Musk to the rescue again, and he is a truly amazing individual. You can't say that about most people. But Elon Musk is amazing, and his space program is amazing, and his offer to rescue them early is amazing. And then telling the truth now, the news media should be all over it. They should be chasing Joe Biden down wherever he is in his iron lung and dragging his long chair across the sand and ask him, why did you deny the rescue effort of the American astronauts stranded in space? But we've got these, the Kellys of the world. Oh, they're not stranded. No, they could always leave. These people lie. If they're breathing, they're lying.